kind of
one day you go to bed, you're the king of the world,
weird time.
and then you wake up the next
8.3
day and
has
you're
been
now
a
like
circus
garbage
in
and you've
itself.
done nothing.
Pre-patch is
Yeah.
even worse than that because these are characters that are missing like 50% of their team. And not only that, we're now combining it with a situation where Shadowlands is still very, very much balanced. A lot of and Blizzard is still kind of working through all that and trying to figure things out.
Fuck, wasn't BFA such a great expansion? All that time spent grinding AP, spamming islands to get that slight edge, doing weekly visions to get your cloak upgrades so you can wear more nightmare crack. Hoping for the right corruption so you can play your character less and put your DPS to the RNG gods and laugh at your friends with worse corruption? Yeah, me too. All this juice flowing through your character's veins. Are you actually stronger, or is it just an illusion? It makes you wonder how your character will end up in the next expansion, right? If half your damage is coming from infinite stars, what the fuck happens when you don't have it anymore? Will your class still function without corruption or essences? Will your class actually be playable in pre-patch with their absence? Probably not. So there's this concept called design debt. Basically, it's when you or your dogshit boss gets you into a situation where you're taking constant shortcuts. You're just working non-stop to get a project done.
I'm working non-stop to get the project done,
but not laying down the proper foundations, leading to future projects being gimped by bad design from earlier, creating a stacking debuff on future mechanics. This leads to a negative feedback loop of constantly working under crunch. Devs are spending hours and hours doing scrappy game design, popping energy drinks like a fucking fiend. The blood in their veins at this point is 50% Redbull, and there's an asthma layer building around their desk. I mean, fuck, even we did that when writing this script, and sifting through it is a massive pain in the ass. After all that, only to come out with something that's technically working, and then Blizzard comes out and fires and rehires their staff at half the wage for the next patch. What I'm trying to say is it makes the game some sort of Frankenstein that even the devs don't know what makes anything function anymore. It's like a contraption that the AdMechs built centuries ago and just pretend to understand. Look at it like this. Imagine you're playing Shadow Priest. Life sucks. You can't do anything, and nobody wants to invite you to their dungeon runs. It's like being a teenager back in high school again, sitting in a dark room smoking weed alone as you masturbate to anime girls, considering to end it after every nut. Your deadbeat dad Blizzard doesn't seem to believe you that life is worthless, and instead you turn to what's available to you. Drugs, Redbull, video games, and hentai. All those sweet little nodes of degeneracy that make it all feel a little more worth it. So much time is wasted searching for these fixes for your life, and none of it's spent living it through the game. So many fixes that it leads to dev time being wasted on fixing things that should have been polished on launch. We gotta remember, this isn't a fucking early access game. It's a 15-year-old game owned by a AAA company that's updated every few months with a major patch every couple years. There's definitely valid complaints to be made, especially when you pay a premium for the pleasure of being abused by our capitalist overlords each month. By the way, a sub is less money if you commit for the long term. Then finally, when it comes to launch the expansion, they wipe away all the muck of borrowed power and remember their game is designed worse than outward. This can result in getting talent choices that we had baseline previously and are now mandatory in their respective rows. Then, with each new tier, zone, or part of the game, they have to consider what fits into your class and make sure it doesn't get out of control. Some going way further than intended, and others falling below, creating a whole mess of systems like XQC trying to say any sentence ever.
Why does your hair look like a hat? I don't know. Why does your dick look
The pre-patch hits. Your character is a shell of its former self and barely functions. It's worse than it was before. Now you can't even afford your tendies and you're stuck as the same husk of a being you were before. Players really feel this when the expansion start is coming up. The bloat of overlapping systems are heavily apparent, and in an expansion like Battle for Azeroth, things like alts or catching up just seems like masochism. The new expansion will talk about how it's going to fix all the problems and what new systems they're going to integrate. Recently it's been looking like Covenants and Soulbinds. The expansion hasn't even launched yet, and people are already raising major concerns about the way Covenants are structured.
We just don't want the power associated to it because it creates very obvious, very real, very significant issues for a lot of us. We don't want that to happen because it's never been a thing in this game. It's one of the reasons we enjoy this game.
True, and yeah, that's pretty true. That's true, and yeah, that's true.
Is it happening again? Fuck it, I don't care, I'll play. I have Stockholm Syndrome.
It sucks playing the shit! And I'm fucking addicted!
The worst part is, it shouldn't even be a problem to fix. Covenants aren't even integrated as an RPG system at this point anyways. They literally just plan to do it as they go like it's a fucking early access game or something. And if anyone claims some RPG, that they can get fucked. Playing the pre-patch and reading about your class the next expansion might leave you with a sense of withdrawal. The pain of living with all the coping and seeing that it's just going to happen again is perhaps worse than living ever was. Blizzard is at least somewhat listening to us on community feedback, and it seems like things are looking up. And everyone's kind of working towards this common goal of making a good game. Well, except for Bobby Kotick, but he can eat shit. Every time Blizz listens to feedback, it's like a dopamine hit. Sure, there's the occasional, you think you do, but you don't, that crops up here and there. Although, that just seems like a symptom of not having time, committing to a flawed idea, or having some sort of other plan to lead us along our daily CBT. Or maybe it's just another occasion of the devs not wanting us to have too much ability to optimize our characters. This expansion is already showing some concerning systems, but there's talks of things like tier sets, which are historically a pretty manageable type of borrowed power. We're not saying borrowed power is a horrible thing, in fact it's quite necessary. You could even make an argument that just about every character enhancement in the game counts as borrowed power. It's just that the over-reliance on it to fix class problems fundamentally can cause a lot of problems down the road. Player feedback, better foundations, and more time and care put into the game as a whole could lead to less problems later on. Realistically, shit like this is stuff Blizzard is or should be aware of. Maybe it's dog developers, maybe it's dog owners, or a cycle of hatred, who fucking knows. So this video took a while to make, the pre-patch has launched, and the expansion ended up getting delayed. So here we are, coming out of the expansion, several broken classes, and they've got to scramble to fix them all. On top of that, they have to balance Covenants, Conduits, Soulbinds, Legendaries, and clean up other systems like the Maw. Now, imagine this, a world where classes didn't need massive reworks to function at a basic level, and all Blizz had to do was add on to the existing systems. Kinda fucking crazy, right? Well, that's it. We have a Reddit, and we'll post updates and shit for later videos on Twitter, so we'll have a link to those somewhere. I might be doing some streams after Shadowlands launch, so feel free to come by and chat and shit post or whatever. Also remember to like and subscribe, I guess. Anyways guys, peace.
So I can finally rest. I'm struggling as fuck, but I'm doing my best. I swear I'm not a random guy that you randomly test. I promise you would fail, I would send you to hell.